It's a very good question. It's quite a tricky one to answer because we all tend to focus on the B2C stuff because we influence it, it influences us. In B2B world, it's not uncommon for big organisations who are cross-boundary multinational not to have a global view of their customer, not to know how much a customer is spending with them in what parts of the world on what products. That's still not uncommon. What we tend to find for bigger companies that have cracked that, they would be using things like their financial systems, sitting procurement systems on top to understand what they're selling to whom and what products around the world. It's still, as I say, not uncommon though to find companies who aren't aware of that. It then comes back to how you use the data, and again, we've had this across the whole table. Some of the data insights, the use of analytics on data. There are some fabulous tools to go analyse data now, and it's often companies don't know what they know. It could, the World Duty Free example that you had the data collected for one purpose that you suddenly find you can use for another. Again, in many finance systems, you'll find customer records with different labels, but there's no real reason why you can't scan those across different organisations around the world, different parts of your business, to build up a picture of a single customer and their buying habits B2B as well. It really comes down to a strategy though, and I keep coming back to this, that if you have a customer-based strategy, whether you're B2B or B2C, you would enact and execute against a strategy to bring together a view that it gives you a clearer picture of the customer. I think the thing that bothers me is that many companies don't have that strategy that focuses on the customer, the data, and then using it in a proactive way.
I think I'd add a couple of points. So if I take the Barclays business stock of customers, over 50% of them are B2B. Not B2C, and a lot of the disciplines are consistent across B2B or B2C. Now that's smaller businesses. If you look up into larger businesses, I think I'd add two things. The first is a lot of what is a customer experience is still collected up in terms of observing what your competitors are doing and what is being said about them. It's largely this data point. So I think that there are still lessons that are applicable, even though they come from a very, if you like, granular level of B2C, a customer looking something up on an iPhone in a store. That mindset of what's going on in a marketplace, what's going on around me, is as applicable in a very large organisation with, very large clients. And the final point I'd say is some very large organisations who are supplying into other large organisations tend not to try and understand the end client as well as they should. And for most of those relationships, there is still an end consumer somewhere in the chain, and going and finding out what that end consumer's needs are and understanding it materially changes your relationship with your client.